before we take out the old converter, we want to hold up the new converter just to where the flange is, and you can see how far back the converter goes. It's going to go back to right here, but we don't want to cut right there because the pipe from here has to go inside here. So you want to measure and cut right about there. If we measure it to the flange, to about the spot right about there, it is 17.5 inches. So we're going to want to cut the pipe at 17.5 inches there. So 17.5 inches, which is where that mark was. So use a marker, just mark this area. You can go all the way around. That's where we're going to cut the pipe. Try to cut all around there. I am going to use a screw jack and support the pipe. It'll prevent vibrations and it will prevent the pipe from falling once it's cut. I'm just going to use a reciprocating saw to cut through this. If you have an exhaust cutter, you might want to use that. It might be a little bit easier, but this works pretty quick. Through pretty good. Now I lowered that down, that's okay right there. I'm just going to move this over here for when we take the nuts off over here. Then this won't fall. Actually, I'll put it right here. That's good right there. Now you want to take off the nuts that are on the front of this flange. Use a 13mm socket and take those off. These are obviously rotted away. In some cases, you may need a 15mm socket, so use accordingly. So I'm going to have to cut these off. I'll just cut these off. And there it is. I just use this scraper and just scrape all the old gasket material off. Put the new gasket on. You can just let it sit there like that and slide the converter over the pipe. You might have to pull the exhaust down a little bit. Get it to slide, pull it over and down. Oops. And there's a hole for an O2 sensor on this, and we want that on this side. Line this up here. Now I'm going to use some nuts and bolts. Get those started. Now tighten those down. You want to kind of tighten them down a little evenly. You can cross over. Because we're not going to use that O2 sensor hole, we're going to use a plug. Just put a plug in, get that lined up. And snug that down. And you're going to need an exhaust clamp. Slide that over. Put the bolts on, or the nuts on. And if you need to, you can pull this together a little bit right before you tighten it down. Like that. And tighten it down. Make sure it's good and tight. Looks good. And lower the pole jack.